I'm a general partner at J2 Ventures. We are a dual-use technology investment fund. So we invest in early-stage companies that can serve government and commercial markets. We have a really good understanding of the different problems and mandates that government has, and we go and identify companies that have traction in the commercial sector or might be solving those problems in the private sector, and we help them expand the scope of their business into government. And so if you look at our portfolio, we've made investments across telecom, healthcare, cybersecurity, software. The last few deals we did, we've invested in everything from advanced manufacturing companies like Parallel Fluidics to chip-scale atomic clocks like Mesa Quantum to a gaming company in the Roblox UGC space. And that's because the government is actually the largest buyer of all technology. And people are always surprised by the various use cases that we're able to identify for our portfolio. We're a team of four members of the partnerships, and then we also have a director of operations who comes from the intelligence community. And so between our entire team, we've actually all bought like billions of dollars of technology on behalf of different parts of the US government. So we have two partners, Dr. Matt Goldman, who is a retired Air Force colonel, but also one of the founding members of the Defense Innovation Unit. So this is the unit within the DoD that works really well with startups. Our co-founder, Alex, was my seatmate in business school. That's actually how we met. And he reported to Matt at Defense Innovation Unit, right? So we have folks on our team that have experience bringing startups into the military. We also have folks like myself and our partner, John, who have a lot of experience getting non-dilutive capital from academia, right? John has a PhD, right? He's gotten a lot of funding through non-dilutive capital just through his academic work, as well as the non-dilutive capital that's available at the state and local level. So we were also early investors with the Aura Ring, but the way, and this gives you a sense of actually how we think about dual-use technology and how we try to add value as investors. So we actually introduced the Aura to the military, to the US Air Force. And the reason why the Aura was so important, especially in the pandemic context, was because the Aura is actually so sensitive in terms of measuring your breathing that it knows when you're about to get sick before you do. And in a COVID context, on a military base, it actually allowed doctors to look at Aura data, right, across a group of active military living on the base and isolate them proactively to prevent the spread of Aura. So that's actually one use case in the military context. Another one that is still relevant now is pilots get dizzy when they fly at high altitudes. So for a long time, pilots had to self-monitor. They were flying a plane, and they actually have to tell their co-pilot, hey, I'm feeling dizzy, in order to continue a mission. With Aura, and for those of you who own the Aura, you kind of know this isn't a special use case, right? The Aura actually can tell you if you're feeling dizzy, but now a co-pilot can actually monitor that data and make those missions safer. So that's an example where we took a company that had great commercial traction, great, honestly just great design, and we got them their first government contract. And we could actually announce this. And it's been incredible. So the Pentagon announced a couple months ago, they just gave the Aura a $96 million government contract, all public. And a couple weeks ago, the Aura just raised a round out of over $5 billion valuation, led by Dexcom, which is a leading medical device manufacturer in the diabetes and glucose space. And so the reason why we like to cite this is it's not just about, I don't see, the win isn't just about raising, up rounds. It's about giving Aura the opportunity to expand the scope of their business. I think Aura is still very consumer first. It still builds one of the best consumer experiences in the wearable space. But working with the government, working with the military, gives them an opportunity to differentiate against all their other competitors. So they now have a path to becoming a medical device, which is quite defensible, and it gives them sort of like a commercial moat against all their other competitors, not just in America, but also the consumer wearables coming from Asia. There is kind of a notion that it takes a long time to sell to government. And when people always ask me, how long will it take for company X to sell to government? I always say it depends, because it also depends on what the government is prioritizing at the time. And so I would say with at least the Aura example, it was a little different because the global pandemic led to just rapid adoption of all types of technology, especially in the consumer space. But I don't anticipate that slowing down, right? Like even with the new administration coming in, like if we just look at the numbers around government spending and defense spending, I mean, the DoD budget is $800 billion, plus or minus a few billion. That's 40% of the world's spending. But a lot of the DoD budget actually goes towards R&D. So I think last year the DoD spent about like $70 billion, which is a lot. I mean, this is like the GDP of countries, right? But $70 billion just on providing what's called non-dilutive capital, so free money to companies, right? So this is actually capital that founders can get without giving up equity in exchange, because the U.S. government doesn't sit on your cap table. Just to give you a context of what $70 billion means. I mean, besides it being a lot, right? That's over 1/3 of the $170 billion that VCs pour into the market. So if you actually think about like the U.S. government as a VC, I mean, it's probably the biggest fund in the world. And so we like to work with, especially our deep tech founders, on helping them scale with the help of government. And it doesn't always have to be government being a customer, but even, I mentioned some of our deep tech investments like chip scale atomic clocks, right? That company Mesa Quantum has gotten a ton of what's called non-dilutive capital from the US government just to help commercialize an alternative GPS system. I'm not really passionate about being a VC, but I am passionate about like supporting founders, and I'm passionate about the government, right? Like it's cheesy and patriotic, but I got into the VC business because I care about scaling government services. I care about keeping this country competitive and able, and none of that's going to happen unless you have leverage. And I think technology is actually one of the best ways you can provide leverage within the government. So that's why and I think this is true actually across my entire team. Like this is why we do what we do.